is chapter 11, the Universal Form, text number 36. Arjuna Vacha, Stane Rishikesha Teva Prakritya, Jagat Parishat Rajate Cha, Rakshamsi Bitani Disho Javanti, Sarve Namasyanti Chasiddha Sangha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna said, O Master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Purport. Arjuna, after hearing from Krishna about the outcome of the battle of Kurukshetra, becomes enlightened. And as a great devotee and friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said that everything done by Krishna is quite fit. Arjuna confirmed that Krishna is the maintainer and the object of worship for the devotees and the destroyer of the undesirables. His actions are equally good for all. Arjuna understood herein that when the battle of Kurukshetra was being concluded, in outer space there were present many demigods, siddhas, and the intelligentsia of the higher planets. And they were observing the fight because Krishna was present there. When Arjuna saw the universal form of the Lord, the demigods took pleasure in it. But others who were demons and atheists could not stand it when the Lord was praised. Out of their natural fear of the devastating form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they fled. Krishna's treatment of the devotees and the atheists is praised by Arjuna. In all cases, the devotee glorifies the Lord because he knows that whatever he does is good for all. So the text again. Stane Rishikesha Tava Prakritya Jagat Parishat Rajate Cha Raksamsi Vitani Disho Javanti Sarve Namasyanti Chasiddha Sangha. Arjuna said, O Master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Om Agyanatmanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanyamaro Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Here in the translation, Srila Prabhupada mentions about the holy name. And here it says, Stane Rishikesha Tava Prakritya, and Prabhupada translates that, or it's translated as glories. In other words, part of Krishna's glories is his name, but also his name is expanded into his forms, his associates, his pastimes, his qualities, etc. They're all part of Krishna's name. And Prabhupada emphasizes, at least in the purport, that Krishna is equal to everyone. Now, in the Krishna book, it's mentioned that the whole world is full of Krishna's names, but everyone's understanding them differently. That everyone is dancing with Krishna, But those who are dancing imitating Krishna, they're dancing with his Maya. And those who are dancing in harmony with Krishna, they're dancing in the rasa dance. In other words, although Krishna is equal to everyone, but he's especially inclined to those who are interested in him. And he's disinclined to reveal himself to those who are not interested in him. Everything depends upon where our interest lies. Yeyatamam prapadyante, tam sataiva bhajamyaham, mama vartmanu vartante, manushapartha sarashaha. As a general principle, Krishna says, everyone as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Kunti. And when Krishna gets into the details, then he says, Samaham sarvabhuteshu, name dveshtosti na priyaha, ye bhajanti tumam bhakta, mai te teshu chapyam. That I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. For those who render service unto me devotion, I am within them, and they're also within me. In other words, we don't have to correct anything in this world except for our consciousness, our mentality. The material world is a manifestation of the desire not to be Krishna conscious. So everyone is given that opportunity to imagine themselves to be something other than Krishna's servants, and that's manifested as the material world, as a more or less a drama that's going on, a drama of illusion. And Krishna, he's very much intimately connected with it, because he says, Savasya Ridi Sanavishto Matak Smritira Jnanam Apavanam Cha. Vedaisha Savarham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Krid Vedavit Eva Chaham. That I'm situated in everyone's heart. So whether we like it or not, Krishna is there. No one can get rid of him. Hiranyakashipu wanted to find him when Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Varaha. Hiranyakashipu wanted to search out Vishnu in order to kill him, specifically Lord Varaha. But Lord Varaha understood that he was not meant to kill Hiranyakashipu, so he took shelter Hiranyakashipu's heart. He entered through his nostrils into Hiranyakashipu's heart, and he was secure there because he knew that Hiranyakashipu would never look inside himself to find God. His entire experience was external. So for those who are materialists, Krishna makes sure that everything they see in the material world is whatever their mentality is. Some of them see it as a manifestation of ignorance. That is, they think that the whole material world is simply material energy. Others, they think there's spirit in the material world, but that spirit is impersonal, and that ultimately, after leaving this body, we all merge into the same spiritual existence. Others, they think the material world is not real, spiritual is not real, there's nothing that's real, everything is an illusion. And at the end of life, we just disappear. Not very romantic. That we appeared out of nothing, at the end, we just disappear, and that's it. So these are all considered to be anarthas, these conceptions. But we have these conceptions because they're gifts of the illusory energy, because we decided to play around with the material energy. And the material energy has a sequence of inviting us into either elimination or illusion. As Krishna says, Dayato Visham Punsam Sangas Teshu Pujayate Sangas Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodo Bujayate. For those who choose the path of illusion, those who have no knowledge about the Supreme, they look at the material world as an opportunity to acquire things, specifically, either on the gross platform to get material amenities for our eating, sleeping, mating, defending, or on the most subtle platform to learn how to live in the material world, to become the controllers of the material energy, or ultimately to merge into the Brahman and become God. And along that path, there are different levels of illusion, and there are different levels of illumination. For those who are trying to acquire, who are grossly materialists, who believe that there's nothing beyond material nature, then they're called mudhas, grossly foolish. And all they're interested is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Not much difference. In every age, there are mudhas. In this age, the mudhas concentrate more for the time being upon mating and defending, because they figure they have sufficient means to get eating and sleeping. So now they've turned their attention to concentrating upon mating and defending. A little bit more elevated than that are the fruitive workers who follow the Vedic culture, and their emphasis on a happy life free from anxiety, how to get free from lamentation, and how to acquire nice material arrangements for one's eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So a little bit more elevated. They usually follow the Vedic culture, but at any time they may turn against Krishna's injunctions once they're satisfied and simply exploit the resources that they acquired by following Krishna's injunctions. Or if we follow Krishna's instructions, then we become elevated. But if we don't know that the goal is Krishna, then we may utilize those resources that Krishna provides due to our pious activities for sense gratification, unrestricted sense gratification, and therefore fall back into the lower levels of consciousness. So that goes on all the way up to the platform of liberation from the material conceptions of life, merging in Brahman, realizing we're eternal, and then thinking oneself to be the supreme. Therefore, we have to become aware, and therefore Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita so that we can hear these different levels of consciousness, and we can identify when we're on a lower level of consciousness, when we're becoming attached to a lower level, and how to become detached from that level, lower level, by seeing it in a higher level. When Arjuna asked Krishna, or told Krishna that, my dear Krishna, actually I'm having problems with my mind. When I was at the State University of New York at Buffalo, there was a teacher's college. I went to the University of Buffalo, but there's a State University of Teachers College in Buffalo, and Prabhupada came there to give a lecture. And at the end of the lecture, one man came up to express his difficulties with his mind. And Prabhupada said, actually, the only thing I can give you is the holy name, Hare Krishna. So we may try to complicate things, but actually we have a choice. either some way or another, especially in this age, through the chanting of the holy names, we take shelter of the internal energy, or will be by our nature, as Krishna tells Arjuna, because Arjuna didn't want to fight for Krishna. He wanted to go into the forest and live a secluded life of frustration. But Krishna didn't agree with him. He said that even you go ahankara, yadahankara, ashitya, yotsi iti manyate, Vidyaisha Vyavasayaste Prakriti Tvam Yayokshati. That even if you decline acting according to my instructions, you'll be forced to fight anyhow because of your ego, false ego. So even you try to go into the forest, your mind will turn you around, and out of anger rather than out of devotional service, you'll go back and fight anyhow because that's your nature. On the other hand, if we take shelter of Krishna, then gradually our illusion will go away. And we'll be able to see ourselves not as the doer, but as the desirer. And if we correct our desires and dovetail them with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, then the result is that we become an instrument for Krishna. And becoming an instrument for Krishna, because Krishna, he reciprocates with his devotees. And the result is we'll become joyful, seeing how everything is perfectly being arranged by Krishna, all with the goal of helping us become conscious of Krishna again. So if we become conscious of Krishna, then we fulfill the whole purpose of the creation. Our lives are perfect. And if we do anything else other than become conscious of Krishna, then we're just wasting our time. Of course, there may be activities which elevate us towards Krishna consciousness. Things can be accepted which will help us perform our devotional service better. But ultimately, our aim is to become conscious of Krishna. And there's no better way of becoming conscious of Krishna than through the process of devotional service, specifically leading us to the level of chanting Hare Krishna in Shuddhanam, Bhavanam, and ultimately Premanam. Now, in the meantime, our first business is to recognize that we're an illusion. And it's helpful to know what kind of illusion we're in. It's sufficient to know we're an illusion, but if we understand what kind of illusion we're in, then it's much easier to try to get out of that level of illusion at least. Therefore, when we get insights into what kind of illusion I'm under, it's actually quite helpful, because then I can actually become detached from it. If I accept that this is illusion and I should try to take shelter of Krishna, and every illusion that we have more or less is the same theme. It fits into the categories Krishna has nicely summed it up in many places in the Bhagavad Gita, but specifically when he talks about the demons, that every illusion that we have fits into the idam adya maya labdva imam prapse manoratam idam astia apime pravishati punarjana asomaya atakshatror anishe chapuranapi ishvaraham hambogi saraham balavan sukhi adyo vidanavanasmi konyosti sadrisho maya yakshe daishami modishya ityagana vimohitara. So the first thing he says is, idam adya maya ladva. So much have I gained today. People go to sleep at night dreaming of what they've gained today. So much I've gained today, and I'll gain more in the future. So much is mine. So much wealth have I obtained, and I'll get more and more. So this is the main desire of people in ignorance who don't know what the goal of life is, but have taken the goal of life to amass unlimited amounts of money for sense gratification. And therefore, their goal of life is to acquire as much opportunities to gratify their senses as possible. And because of that, they're always in competition with others. Therefore, Krishna says that aso maya hatak shatrur. He is my enemy and I've killed him. Of course, nowadays, most of us don't go around killing our enemies because there's not enough room in the jails for all the people who would be put there. On the other hand, we kill our enemies usually subtly. We start talking about them in a negative way to others, kill their reputation. So when after killing their reputation, when they walk in the room, everyone is shocked. How dare you walk into this room, contaminate the room? All the pure souls in the room have become disturbed by seeing your the nails on your toes. So generally speaking, on the internet, especially nowadays, a few clicks of the keyboard and you send out 300 million bad things about this person, which reach 300 million different people and destroy their reputation. So when they ever hear their names, immediately they close their ears. So their brain doesn't become contaminated by hearing about this person. Of course, some people in the mode of ignorance, they also really kill people, but that's not so common so far. Killing the animals, that's all right. That they don't think they're spiritual beings. Killing their children, etc. So they're progressing. Gradually, they'll kill other living entities too. Now it's the old people. If you're a useless eater, they'll kill you. Whatever. It's not very safe, Kali Yuga. Asomaya hatakshat hanishe chaparanapi ishvaraham. So everyone is thinking that they're somehow or another they have some ability, some power, some position is worthy of respect. Ishvaraham aham bogi. And that this material world is basically speaking an opportunity for them to enjoy as much as possible. Siddhaham Balavan. And in my own way, I'm perfect. I really appreciate myself more than anyone else can imagine. I think of myself to be Siddha. Well, no matter what I do, it's perfect. Therefore, one great devotee said, Kamarinam kati na katidam palitas dorni deshas tesham jatamayi karuna na trapa no pashanti. We have so many desires in this material world, such as some of the ones I've mentioned so far, and we're always trying to fulfill them. They're masters. We're slaves of these desires, these objectives. The problem is, according to this devotee, not karuna. They're never merciful to me. They may put me into the most difficult situations, even I have to risk my life. The typical story is man sees woman, woman has man next to her, man is attracted to the woman. Still, he'll risk his life to gratify his senses with her. Because the mind dictates to him, you must have her. In other words, the mind's not very merciful. It's going to put us into the most abominable situation if we follow it, but still it demands, you must do that. I'm telling you to do it. I'm not going to leave you alone until you do it. You're not going to be able to sleep at night until you do it. Natrapa. Nor are we ever embarrassed because we do it. We had to do it. My mind told me to do it. And my ultimate authority is my mind. Even I use my intelligence and don't do something, my next thought is, what does my mind, if I can't do that, what is the next thing my mind wants me to do? So, natrapa, I'm not ashamed because I did it because I'm a servant. I'm the servant of my mind, and I'm a faithful servant. I'm a good servant. No pashanti, and there's no end to it. It's not that today I fulfill my desires, and then tomorrow there won't be any desire. I'm satisfied. No, tomorrow there's 10 times more desires. Asomaya takshatra hanishe chaparanapi, Ishvaraham hambogi, siraham balavansaki, adyo bijanavanas kanyosti sadrishamaya, yakshe dashami modisha, ityaganavi mohita. So everyone is performing some sacrifice to gratify their senses, and of course, they're serving their relatives, their wife, their children, or their husband, whatever, their dog, because these persons are worthy to be served, to be sacrificed for. And therefore, Krishna is supplying us with so much intelligence how to gratify our senses in this way, providing us with a complete illusion that this is life, this is existence, and that there's nothing beyond this. And even if there's something beyond it, still we have to live out this illusion to the best possible way we can and enjoy it to the maximum we can. Now, the problem with that, as Queen Kunti said, is that the material nature is not merciful to us. We're not ashamed of serving it in so many different ways. And there's no end to it. But it bewilders us, it puts us in anxiety, creates very unpleasant circumstances for us. And the only thing we get out of it is another body in the material existence. So, Queen Kundi points out that in her experience, although they seem to have very good karma, they were born in a royal family, but all they got was problems. I'm sure they had nice prasadam, but sometimes they had to enjoy it in the forest. And if you ever go into a forest, all the living entities are there not surrendered. They're in competition to bite you or eat you or do something with you very unpleasant. So to live in a forest is not exactly, for most people, a great opportunity. It's not something you expect from the royal family. To go into a forest and live there for 14 years or whatever it was. So they're in the forest. A man-eater came to eat them. They were invited to a holiday house, and the people who invited them set it on fire. They got into a fight with their relatives, and they were throwing something more powerful than atomic bombs at them. So they had some reason to wonder, look at their astrological chart, say, how did this happen? Wait a second. We may have had bad karma, but we read in the Nectar of Devotion, when you clap your hands before the deities, all the bad karma goes away. And we were right before Krishna, and the bad karma didn't go away. Even the ordinary citizens generally don't go into the forest and someone tries to eat them. Most people live in their house for their entire life, and no one sets it on fire to burn them to ashes. Most people don't have to worry about someone throwing a Brahmastra at them or their personal atomic bomb to kill them. So, did they have some reason to doubt, to question what's going on? We chanted our rounds every day. We've been following the regular principles. Krishna is our best friend. And yet our whole material existence is just upside down all the time. So Queen Kunti didn't complain. She said, actually, the more problems we face, the more I'm able to think about you, to take shelter of you. And the more we take shelter of you, the more we become liberated from birth and death. On the other hand, the real problem that we would have, if you weren't so merciful to us, because we're by nature attached to have a nice family, to have personal beauty, to have wealth, to have influence. We're by nature attached to these things. But unless you took them away from us, then we'd actually get more attached to them. And if we're more attached to them, then we can't chant your holy name with any kind of feeling. So our problem is that we don't chant the holy name all the time with feeling. And what's the main problem? As Srila Prabhupada once I heard he said, that one of the problems in the Hare Krishna movement is that we don't believe in Krishna. So that's a problem when you're in the Hare Krishna movement, not to believe in Krishna. Now, there may be different degrees of believing in Krishna, but that degree is shown especially when we chant Hare Krishna. We've heard that Krishna and his name are non-different. But when we chant Hare Krishna, who are we chanting to Srimati Radharani and Krishna? In the mood of lovingly asking them to engage us in a loving service? And if not, then how are we chanting Hare Krishna? Is the main happiness in our life for a devotee when the final counter beat falls down and we've completed our 16 rounds and now we're liberated from chanting? Or do we actually developing a taste for the holy name? And the taste of the holy name, do we actually believe that when we say the name of Hare, that Srimati Radharani is there? The same person who has unlimited love and bliss, she's actually there. How much faith do we actually have in that? That when we say the name of Krishna, that Krishna with his flute, his peacock feather, his Kaustuba jewel, his lotus eyes, how much do we actually believe that Krishna is present there? How much do we believe and how much do we feel his presence? How much are we in the mood of even asking Krishna lovingly, submissively, and humbly to please engage me in loving service? How much do we take that as a priority in our life, as the goal of our life, to simply be engaged in Krishna's loving service? If we had to make a list of things that we have to do today, where would engage in Krishna's loving service fit into the list? Are we thinking today is a day I'm going to ask Srimati Radharani and Krishna to please engage me in loving service, and I'm going to ask it with as much sincerity and love that I have. Not only once, but try to do it throughout my 16 rounds. And of course, we should expect something. We should expect that we should remember Krishna in some form or another. At least if we call out Krishna's name, if we call up anyone's name, then how will we not remember them? If we call out the name of, you've heard of Mickey Mouse before? Our universal mouse or rat, depending upon how you look at it. How much do we have faith? How much do we remember when we chant Mickey Mouse? How much do spontaneously, to what extent spontaneously do we remember a mouse? And if we chant Donald Duck, how much do we remember a duck? And compare that when we chant Hare Krishna, how much do we remember Srimati Radharani, and how much do we remember Krishna? So is that any reason for concern? Yes, because the chanting of Hare Krishna is the means by which we can actually come to the platform of pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness if we avoid the 10 offenses. Now, we chant Hare Krishna and we don't experience ecstasy and love of Krishna, and we don't enter into feel Krishna's presence and eventually remember his forms, his qualities, and his pastimes and his associates. It says in the second canto is because, well, we're committing offenses, that's why. Usually the offense is we're not very careful in our dealings with devotees. Matter of fact, we may not be very careful in dealing with anyone. Because to be careful in dealing with the devotees or anyone, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us, as we've heard many times, Yari Deka Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Agaya Guru Tarahe Desh. That whoever we meet, and that means everyone, including our dearmost friend, some people have a dearmost friend, in Russian I believe it's called Sabaka. In Croatian it's probably pes. English it's dog. Chien in French. You're French. And perro in Spanish. So even when we're in association with our dog, we should also chant Hare Krishna. Try to do something to help them elevate themselves. Not spend the whole time, oh, Fido, you're so beautiful. Oh, let me pet you. Oh, yeah. Let me kiss you. Ooh, Fido. Ooh, I love you. Even when we're dealing with Fido or Fido, we should try to help them become Krishna conscious. What to speak of the human beings? Now, actually, Krishna will give us Krishna consciousness when we ask Krishna for it. When we inquire from Krishna and from his representatives, what should I do right now? What should I say? What mood should I be in to help this person or this devotee or this animal become conscious of Krishna? Then Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. When Krishna sees that we're sincere, that we want to serve him, then the result is he gives us intelligence. And when we have no connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission of bringing others back to Krishna, then Krishna gives us whatever intelligence we want to gratify our senses in whatever way we want to. Therefore, avoiding the 10 offenses actually requires some thoughtfulness. And there are many others. There are other 10 offenses. The main one, of course, we know is being inattentive, because we don't really think Krishna is not different from his name. And of course, Naham Prakasha Sarvasha Yoga Maya Samavrita Muro Yam Navijanati Loka Yam Ajam Avyam. Krishna says, I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. To them I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. So the deluded world knows me not, whom unborn and inexhaustible. So we're covered. But Krishna tells Arjuna, yes, you're covered. You have some problems. You're an illusion. But he doesn't say, well, Arjuna, I'm sympathetic to you. Please lie down in the chariot. Tell me how your mother treated you when you were small. Maybe that's the problem. I understand, you have some low self-esteem. That's why you don't want to fight, etc. Krishna did not baby Arjuna. He said, Tasmat Twami Tishti Sholabasva. Get up and prepare to fight. Tasmat Agana Sambhuta Ritstam Gyana Chidatmanaha Chidvainam Samshayam Yogam Atishto Tishta Bharata. These doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed with the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Arjuna, stand and fight. So we have to acquire this perspective that we're Krishna's servants. Our duty is to serve Krishna. To serve Krishna in this age means to distribute the holy name to others in some form or another, to help them revive their relation with Krishna in some way or another. If we do that, then we're armed with yoga. Otherwise, our minds will batter us around in the three modes of nature, sometimes in goodness, sometimes in passion, sometimes in ignorance, and we'll be submerged, drowning in the ocean of material misery, and sometimes surfacing for a few minutes and then being dunked under again. Therefore, to accept that we have to take shelter of Krishna, and how to do that? Tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gachantnyapana aritim, gyanani duta kamasha. One's intelligence. So we have to hear about Krishna regularly. One's intelligence, one's mind, nishta. Tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas. Atmanas means the mind. We have to hear about Krishna in such a way as that we actually start thinking about him. We're experiencing him. And then nishta. By that experience, then we actually believe that I should chant Hare Krishna with love and devotion. I should make an effort to serve Krishna's mission. Then parayanaha. Then we'll see that as soon as I forget Krishna, then immediately the illusory energy captures me. Krishna, as it says, I think it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Bahir Mukha Bhagavan Chitare, Nikatasta Tare Japiti Dare. As soon as we turn our face away from Krishna, Krishna Bahir Mukha Bhoga, and want to enjoy the material energy in some way or another, Nikatasta Maya. Maya is right with us. She's our faithful companion since time immemorial. She accompanies us through the 8,400,000 species of life, encouraging us to serve the material energy. Then Maya slaps us down. She's not merciful. We're never ashamed of serving her. And there's no end to the miseries in our service to her. Therefore, this Hare Krishna movement is a great opportunity to try to have a regular sadhana, hear about Krishna every day, try to hear in such a way to chant the Srimati Radharani and Krishna lovingly, with faith that they will engage me in their loving service if I actually want them to do so, just by chanting Hare Krishna. Then, when we develop that faith, then we'll understand that there's nothing better to do in this universe than to chant Hare Krishna with love and devotion, without any offense. And then we'll understand that this is my goal of life, and that as soon as I deviate from it, then there can only be disappointment. There's no anything else to obtain in these three worlds, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, except for the holy name. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Because I hope everyone's chanting the holy name in their mind while we're thinking.
Can I ask some question?
Who's that?
Me. I'm here.
Yeah,
One
sure.
another.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Is there some difference between chanting of the holy name and thinking of Krishna? Like Krishna says, "Man manabha man bhakto," always think of me. And but at the same time, we get this instruction to chant always this holy name. Is there a difference when we're chanting the holy name? We have to just hear, and if we're thinking of Krishna, then it means with some type of contemplations. And is there some difference how we can combine it together?
Prabhupada mentions that in the 35th verse of the Krishna book, at the very end. That's called, that chapter is called The Gopis' Feelings of Separation. And at the end, Prabhupada said that everyone has it. I'll read the whole paragraph because it's a very nice paragraph. Such descriptions of Krishna's transcendental pastimes and activities were remembered by the gopis during his absence from Vrindavan. They give us some idea of how attractive Krishna is, not only to human beings, but to all animate and inanimate objects. In Vrindavan, everyone and everything is attracted to Krishna, including the trees, the plants, the water, and animals like the deer and cows. That is the perfect descriptions of Krishna's all attractiveness. The example of the gopis is very instructive to persons who are trying to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. One can very easily associate with Krishna simply by remembering his transcendental pastimes. Everyone has a tendency to love someone. That Krishna should be the object of love is the central point of Krishna consciousness. By constantly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and remembering his transcendental pastimes of Krishna, one can be fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness and thus make his life sublime and fruitful. So Prabhupada expected that we'd chant Hare Krishna without offense, with love and devotion, and spontaneously we'll remember Krishna's pastimes. We shouldn't try to concentrate the mind on remembering Krishna's pastimes. It's rather impractical in this age. There's too many distractions. It's not bad. The Krishna book, for instance, is an opportunity to meditate on Krishna in that way. But in our daily activities, chanting Hare Krishna can be done anywhere. And if we do it properly, then we'll remember Krishna's name, his forms, his qualities, his associates, and his pastimes. But that may take some time. But the chanting and the remembrance of Krishna's pastime should go on simultaneously. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to find you if you somehow or another meditate on some one of Krishna's pastimes. But if we want to do it consistently throughout the day, 24 hours a day, then the chanting is a great opportunity to do that, because Krishna is personally present with his name, form, quality, and pastimes in his holy name. So everything is there in the holy name. It's also there in the Krishna book.
There's one more instruction that we should return our mind. If it's distracted from Krishna, we have to return our mind under the control of ourself. And this is also is the difference that this returning mind means we should come to the point that I am not this mind, I am not this body, and I should keep my mind fixed on Krishna, and also not to be distracted.
Well, that's okay if you're a yogi, because those verses come from the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Shinai Shinaru Paramed, Budya Drita Grihitaya, Atma Samstamana Kritva, Nakinchit Apichintaya. Gradually, step by step, with full conviction, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence, sustained with full conviction. And thus the mind should think of the self alone and nothing else. Yato nischalati manakchanchalamastiram tatastatam niyam nyaitat atmaneva vishamniya. For wherever the mind wanders to, due to its flickering, unsteady nature, one must control it and draw it back under the control of the self. Restrain it and bring it back under the control of the self. So that's for the yogis. For us, it's Chaitasa Sarva Karmani, Maya Sanyasya Matparaha, Buddhi Yogam Upashitya, Machita Ksaratam Bhava. For the devotees, it's in all activities depend upon me, and work goes on under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So, for us, it's acknowledging that everything is Krishna's energies meant to be utilized in his service under the directions of his representatives. And that service should be done with love and enthusiasm. And then, when it's done with love and enthusiasm, Krishna will spontaneously appear within our memory. And that's perfect Krishna consciousness. So we're not meditators, we're actively engaged in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's service. And by doing so in the proper mood, under the proper authority, then with the proper determination, then we'll remember Krishna spontaneously. Krishna will appear within our memory. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Srila
Hare
Prabhupada.
Hare
Samaveda
Krishna.
Bhaktivinoda Ki
Thank you
Jai.
so much, Guru Maharaj.
Jai. Srila Prahladananda Swami Maharaj ki